This is a special correction. During this show, you will hear Dennis say that the POA dues are included in the THA dues. That's an error. They are not. The POA dues and THA dues are completely separate. We apologize for any confusion. Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com.
Hello for another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Dennis Simpson and Mr. Randy
Cantrell
in Dallas. How's it going there today, Randy?
It's good. It's good.
A warm August evening,
Yep.
I should suspect.
Yep. It's August 16th, 2021 as we hit the record button. Tomorrow
is 86.
Tomorrow's my son's 41st birthday, so that's the big news around here.
41. Well, that would mean you're more than 50, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Slightly over. I'm a youthful 64.
Really? Now, and you still now then fill me in just a second. So 41, he the appraiser?
He's the home inspector.
Home inspector.
Yeah. So shout out RyanInspects.com is the easy way to get to his. I kind of made him do that. I don't think he ever uses it. True Vision Inspections is his company here in Dallas Fort Worth. So Ryan, RYAN Inspects.com if you want to check out his stuff. He's a TikTok star, by the way.
Really?
Oh yeah, he got on TikTok just a matter of weeks. 50,000 subscribers. He's got one TikTok that's approaching 1 million views. He's good.
Now, here's the deal.
He's good. Dad taught him everything he knows, though.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. IT tech for 27, 28 years, never been a real gamer. I have an Instagram account. I hardly ever use it. I do not have a TikTok account.
Yep.
And I know these are like thematic or whatever. The one that he's got approaching 1 million. Well, what is that?
He did he goes to these homes, and it's always, it's a house. Now, he doesn't divulge the client or anything or the address, but find the one where he talks about, I'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, I like to see it.
There's one where he goes into, I'll just give you the hint. As you go from the master bedroom to the master bathroom, there is a microwave oven built in the master bathroom.
No, not just placed there randomly, but
then
built in.
And then there's a walk-in closet. And as you walk in the closet, there's a grand surprise. And he's really clever in the, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to go watch the TikTok. They're basically short videos. They're really short videos. He does it with his iPhone. He just holds it up, shows people stuff. He shows people how to look for termites, and it's
really?
It's their little 2-minute videos. Huh. They're crazy good, and I'm not saying it because it's him, but he gets it. I've shown him enough. I'm the one that I really pushed him to do YouTube videos and to just get your camera and just because he can do a lot of informational, instructional kind of stuff.
Sure.
And he does big luxury homes. He does small homes. He does old homes on pier and beam. He's got sample reports on his website. These are worth checking out just so that you see the names. Dwight Schrute is one of the customers' names. He's got these clever, they're completely accurate, but he's got fictitious names attached to them all.
Sure, of course.
But it's a single page website, RyanInspects.com. So I've given him enough love. So
and the bottom line, and this is advice for anybody: become the authentitorian or authentic voice of information, whether you get to bill for it or not, and they will come. If you become the authority in that area, and you share your knowledge when people do need you. You're the one they call.
Yeah, well, and he's got the people skills and he's got the technical skills, and I know what we're going to talk about. And when it comes to real estate, whether we're buying or selling or whether we just own it,
You could not really, and honestly, there could not be a better tie-in to this, what we're about to talk about today.
Yeah.
First off, I need to preface some things real quick. I am Dennis Simpson. I am the vice chair of the Townhome Owners Association of Hot Springs Village. There are two overarching entities in the village. One is the Townhome Owners Association, and one is the Property Owners Association. Completely different organizations, run completely different, both set up by Mr. Cooper and the Cooper communities as they formed the developments. There are 19 townhouse subdivisions. 19. Of those 19, there are 928 townhouses in the Townhome Owners Association. Once again, completely separate from the Property Owners Association, but they cross very closely a lot of times. And I'm bringing this up because we're having people ask a lot of great questions about the Townhome Owners Association, and it's a valid thing. It's a really valid thing. I am not speaking for the Townhome Owners Association. I cannot be any more clear about that. I am not speaking for the Townhome Owners Association. I am the vice chair and happy to help with any questions. But I just wanted to clarify a few questions. A lot of people are asking, where exactly do our townhome owners' fees go? What do they cover? And Randy, we've talked about some townhomes here in the village here. I mean, what do you think a townhome owner dues and fees would be per month? Do you have any idea?
Well, I've looked, so I've got a little bit of an idea, but I've got a question, but I don't want to short circuit
No, go ahead.
Your plan. My big question is POA dues. Townhome Owners Association, are they separate? Are they together? If I pay one, then do I have to pay the other?
If I had sent you a script to set me up, Randy, this would have been it. That's the perfect question.
And you didn't because
and I didn't. No, what I was going to say is that every property in the village has to pay a property owner's assessment. Okay. And for townhome owners that have a water meter, of course, everyone has a water meter. It's $69.90. And I meant to cover this the other day on one of the shows we did, Randy. We talked about the POA dues, but we didn't talk about how much they are. If you have a vacant piece of land that does not have a water meter on it, it's $39.90 a month. If you have a piece of property that has a water meter on it, townhome, regular home, whatever, it is $69.90 a month. That $69.90 goes to the Property Owners Association, no matter what. So, for example, a townhome might be $108, might be the reasonable fee, the regular fee. That includes the $69.90. So they are not separate in any way, except the 108, 110, whatever. And you say, well, Dennis, why don't you just tell us how much the THA dues are? Because they vary based on each one of the 19 subdivisions. And I'll go into this in just a minute. There's a couple of rules we need to go into. And that is, number one, the Townhome Owners Association was set up by Cooper, basically to manage townhome issues and townhome common property. Take a guess, Randy. I don't know if you know this or not. How far from my townhouse do I actually own? I own the land it sits on, and how much, roughly?
I don't know. I would guess it's really small, though.
It's usually nearly always 5 feet. There are some that are 6 feet.
Yeah, there you go.
So this last week, lady on social media asked a great question. Can I put a dog fence for my service animal back behind my townhouse? That property back behind you is not yours. It's common property between everybody else. Yeah. So you absolutely can't put a permanent structure there because, leeway, access, all that thing. So it's not as it would appear. So many people look and go, well, there's my townhouse and here's my yard. You get to take care of it, but you don't own it, if that makes sense. Okay. So typically the typical townhome owner association fees are going to be between $103 and $110 a month. And they vary ever so slightly, but that does include the $69.90 in your property owners association. So what do we do with that other $30, $40? What do? We pick up your trash. We mow the yard, we maintain the structure, we keep the hedges trimmed. If a tree is damaged or falls or whatever, we take care of all that. It's completely taken care of that for you. I'm going to split that hair in just a moment, by the way, Randy. But I think what the real thing is that when Cooper set this up, number one, and you have to understand, we're not throwing rocks at Cooper. they do what they do to sustain the place. That's their job. So they made the Townhome Owners Association with a couple of specific criteria. Number one, the Townhome Owners Association cannot ever borrow money, period. The declarations can't be changed so that we can borrow money. Nothing, ever, ever, ever. So this means that we have to have funds on hand to fix anything that breaks. Just down the lake, I'm looking down this side, there's Kiwanis Subdivision, which is right across from the Waypoint Marina. Beautiful place. Probably in that subdivision, there's probably, I know there's 2 bridges, and I know they're each over 35 to 40 feet long. Okay. I don't know if you price lumber these days, but if one of those bridges just fell into the water, the Townhome Owners Association, which is all of us, have to have the funds set aside to rebuild those structures immediately without borrowing money, without changing the assessments, blah, 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 blah. So the bottom line is you look and you go, well, we're paying all this money in, and what are y'all doing with it? Technically, we're holding it in reserve in case something happens, because we can't just insure everything, and we can't just raise the funds or go, we're going to put that on a credit card when that breaks, and we'll just go ahead and make that into something. So am I kind of answering the questions for you?
Yep.
Well, let me go one step further. Teresa, Diane, and I bought a property catty corner from us here. Beautiful property, right on the point, 270-degree view, great view. And we bought it on April Fool's Day, in case that tells you anything. Closed on April Fool's Day. Literally less than a week later, my next door neighbor called, Ian at the time, great guy. And he said, Dennis, just want to let you know your roof's in your front yard. Excuse me? Now, I live across the lake I'm looking at my property right now. And I said, just on the other side of the lake. And I said, what do you mean? What, was there a storm? He said, yeah, we had some 60, 70 mile an hour straight line winds come up this side of the lake. And I'm like, it's not a half mile across. What do you mean? I don't have a twig broken in my yard, and my roof's in the front yard. Drive over there real quick. Get over, and sure enough, there's a couple of the oak and a hickory that are, 25, 30 inches around in diameter at the base, and 2 of them are laid over. There's 2 more in the next hill up. Come to find out, the roof in the front yard was not mine. Thank you, Lord, right? But we've got 2 decks, 2 stories, and I go up to the top story, and I'm looking out just like this, literally a redwood deck, looking out this way. I'm standing at the corner, and as I look, something just kind of catches my eye, moves a little back, and I'm like, what's going on? Because it's like a Twilight Zone, change of perspective, and I'm like, what's happening here? Oh, that huge hickory is weaving in and out because it's been loosened, and every time it would move back and forth, I can look down and watch the roots, and the roots are heaving up out of the ground. I called the Townhome Owners Association, who I'm not a member of at the time because I just bought this unit. And I immediately said, hey, I've got a tree that's leaning and it's just about to hit my house. And the first question is it touching your house? No. Okay, we'll be right over. Okay, well, what if it was touching my house? Then it's a property owner's problem. So that's, where you clear that line. They literally had those trees cut down, cleaned up in 3 hours. They were gone, and they had huge equipment to do it. That's the kind, I didn't pay a dime. That's the kind of thing that the Townhome Owners Association is designated to do. Have I clarified this in any way, Randy?
Yeah. And you said 928. So there's 928, and I'm assuming they're not all occupied, but the sellers are still paying those monthly dues, fees. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the dollars there. So no, keep going.
I tell you what, I really want to do a shout out real quick. And I don't know if you'll ever see this or not, but Dennis King has been taking care of our collections. And, people, like everybody, people and corporations, we fall on hard times. Some things happen. We've had a couple of units that have been vacant, and somebody died and the estate couldn't pay or wouldn't pay the taxes and didn't know. And so you've got this property that's in limbo that you're waiting a year, 6 months, 18 months to get the payment and whatever. And Dennis King has been on it. I think our collections, if I'm not mistaken, I think our receivable collections that are bad are less than 0.75%. Yeah, it's awesome. Incredibly low.
Okay, I've got a really stupid, naive question. For those of us that have never had any experience in owning or living in places like this, where you've got you could have some common walls and common roofs. How does that work? If there
Excellent
are problems as an owner, what do I do?
Well, for example, let me tell you what happened. We have, and I wish I'd pop up a picture here. Number 26 Colonus, one of our beautiful units, 2-story unit. Love it. And it was built in the 70s. And Randy, the bottom is kind of a vinyl siding. It's okay, large, pretty windows. But as you go up, you remember when they used to do this kind of half roof where you saw the whole exposed roof on the side?
Yeah.
The building actually has a flat roof on top of it, but they did these shingles on the front with a little slant to it that looked like that's part of the roof. It makes it look taller or whatever. I don't know if you know, but shingles after 50 years, they're just not so much better anymore. They're not so goodly or goodish anymore. So a couple of years ago, one of our neighbors came up. Now, this is a quadplex, and we're on the end of the quadplex. Our neighbors came up and said, we found a guy that does this vinyl replacement and it looks just like shingles. And it really does, except it's, 45 feet or 35 feet up in the air and you can't really see it, but it looks from a distance, it looks like the shingles. So it made our unit look like the rest of them, except it was made out of vinyl and it didn't leak and it wasn't 50 years old and all that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think ours was $1,300 to have him do that. Well, the guy came in and had to get agreement from all four of us to do that. And, luckily great neighbors, fantastic neighbors. And they're like, yeah, well, let's get out our checkbook, And so all of us get the front of that done at the same time. Well, there's and I want to just make this distinction between the POA and the THA. The THA may have a set of colors that they want, or paint colors they want to all share and have in common. And within reason, we don't want you painting yours bright purple and we'll have bright yellow at the other end. Within reason. And that's not their job to be fun suckers. It's their job to establish and maintain values in the property. And I promise you may not think so, but when you paint your house bright purple, you're not going to have the same value,
Yeah. So when you guys get that work done, I'm assuming that the THA had to approve that work prior in advance. Mm-hmm. Any fees attached to that?
Mm-hmm. No, not in that instance. No, there can be. And this is where it gets so particular. I got a buddy across the lake who just bought number 32, one of the houses down there. Beautiful, beautiful home site right on the main channel. Gorgeous. Well, the property right beside him, in his front yard, he had a dogwood tree that was dying. And he was like, oh, they're going to make me get a permit to cut this down and everything. A arborist from the Property Owners Association, which as the overarching authority here, came out and said, the tree's dead. You don't need a permit. It's fine. Just cut it down. The property right beside them was common property owned by the THA. And if you wanted to cut down one of those trees just for aesthetics or for a view or whatever, then I think there's a $30 permit file that you put that in. Because you have to understand what's going on here. Well, this is what's way to collect $30. No, these are volunteers. And they don't want the volunteers in the committee that say yes or no. And they're also obviously fellow property owners. They don't want to come in and go, okay, we're going to do one permit a week for the next 12 weeks. Let's get all these together, vote on them at once. And $30 kind of keeps you back together. Make sure you mean it. You're not just talking with us. And then you're committed to the process, if that makes sense.
So it sounds like it's very familiar, an HOA, property owners, like where I'm at here in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. So I got neighbors on either side. I've got a neighbor behind me. We have this wood fence shared here, shared over here, and shared back behind. Mm-hmm. So when we have the fence replaced, we split what we have in common. We split. It works a similar way, I assume.
Exactly. If there's a problem, and when they re-roof a unit, they re-roof it up to the line, technically. Now, and they'll shingle it in and make it, tight and everything. But now, obviously, it's a cooperative, and we try to do everything we can. If I'm going to re-roof my roof, odds are you need yours. Right. So let's do all this at the same time. And we're talking about townhomes, which typically, 1,000 square feet of roof, right. Not 5,000 square feet of roof. So to share and do all those together, they're either tries or quads or doubles. It really makes a lot more sense for everybody.
What's the future of townhomes as far as any future development of townhomes?
Funny you should say that, because Cooper set those aside, and I always say a joke that Cooper sprinkled their godlike powers in these places. Cooper didn't build 180 condos or townhouses and then they were vacant. Boom, they're gone, as soon as and they build them on Cooper property, which is lakes, golf courses, nice areas, etc. I don't see any immediate expansion. We know that Brandon at Renaissance, we talked about that he was trying to add some townhouses. And, if he gets the developer's approval, Cooper, he can build those anywhere he wants. He turned those into townhouses. He had a conversation with some people, one of the churches, like a public meeting or whatever, and decided to turn them back into homes, which, whatever. My only comment to him was at one point in here, someday down the road, for what Cooper does, which is wise, for perpetuity, you don't want to manage the grounds and the trash pickup and now, right, for the next 200 years. You would like to do it some other way. So I don't see any coming in simply because of the zoning restrictions.
Yep.
But that's not saying there can't be, because, we had that conversation about reserve property the other day. So that could be townhouses.
The turnover rate of townhomes versus, is there some dramatic difference? I don't know that there would be, but there could be, because these can be a really cost-effective way to be in a pretty desirable place.
Let's have a conversation there, Randy. That's an excellent point. That is a fantastic point. I can't tell you what the turnover rate is comparatively, but I will tell you that, Cooper built these things on golf courses or in really nice areas or in very desirable areas. So how would I say it? I don't know what the turnover is. I will tell you the demand is very high. Yeah. And if you don't mind having a common neighbor, which and we're going to have an upcoming show about short-term rentals here in a minute, which I think will address some of these issues. It's not as the perception is. There's not a ongoing issue with noise or crime, or it is not that way at all. But all that to say, if you don't mind having neighbors, you can have as much house as you might normally, maybe probably 40% more house than you would normally have for a fraction of the cost. Now, I wish I could show you. There's a house just across the point that I actually kind of covet a little, right on another point, flat, beautiful. And technically it's a house with a garage, but it's in part of the Townhome Owners Association. Yeah, I know. It's kind of a fluke. So you think of a townhome owner, you think, well, there's got to be multiple units, right? Yeah. No, actually, I can show you across the lake right now. There's a double across the lake, right? It looks at my house, and then right beside it, there's a house that's in the Townhome Owners Association, but not, not a duplex or a triplex or a quad. And the reason I split all those hairs, one of the downsides of a triplex, duplex, a double, is that you seldom get a garage. And, we've got really good weather. It's not like that's a burning issue to shovel the snow or the rain or whatever, but it can be a pain eventually if you think you're moving and you got a great deal, but you don't have a garage.
Any covered parking in any of these townhomes?
That one right over there I was talking about. If it has a home, most times it has covered parking. If it's a duplex, a triplex, or whatever, I don't know of any.
Okay.
That's not saying we couldn't make any, but I don't know of any at this time. Gotcha. But absolutely beautiful. And once again, let's cut to the chase. Right across the lake from me in a cove, Rick listed one this weekend for 1,280 square feet on the lake with a boat dock. It's in a cove. It's not in the main channel. 188. Another one that is very updated and nice is 155. Not as good a water, that kind of thing. But for under 200, okay, Randy, what can you buy on the water in Dallas under 200?
Yeah, nothing.
A doghouse?
No, nothing. No, probably couldn't even get a doghouse. Yeah.
And you ask a great question, and because people ask this all the time while we're standing here and while we're talking about what's the value of a lake lot? Okay. My house is sitting on a lake lot that the county assesses at probably $60,000. And that's with a boat dock on a 210 acre lake with, yeah. There's a reason why you want to come here in there, Randy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of reasons. There's a whole bunch of reasons.
Peace and quiet.
All right. Well, have we omitted anything that you want to hit on here?
I think we have covered the Townhome Owners Association quite nicely. And once again, I will say they're open half days, Monday through Thursday. And the people that work there are extremely devoted and dedicated. They work hard to keep the rates down and the efficiency up. We do not have a full-time maintenance director who directs the lands and whatever. Think of that, 928 units, and it doesn't demand a full-time guy. I mean, that's
impressive.
That is impressive.
And that brings up maybe a good place to dismount today's show is, so the structure of the association. Walk us through that real briefly. So what does that organization itself look like?
501c3. It is a nonprofit organization run by a board of members with a couple of committees. There's a finance committee. There's basically an architectural review committee that approves paint colors and so forth. We meet every 2 months. We meet on the 6th week, we meet and talk about what our voting agenda is going to be. On the 8th week, we meet and vote. We meet in the Townhome Owners Association building, which hardly anybody knows about, which has I'm going to guess, probably close to a 2,500 square foot little convention space that you can rent for dirt. I think we rented it for an afternoon for $75. Make sure you clean it up, incredible bargain. We had birthday parties there. We have family get-togethers and whatever. The offices are located right beside that. Organizationally, it's very lean and very efficient. There's a one office manager, and she's there half time. And then there's one lady that helps Gail, and Melissa, and she usually does the collections, follow-ups and whatever. It's an extremely well-oiled, well-machined, well-performing organization.
And where people is there a place where people can go? Is there a number to contact, a web address or anything like that?
It's a convoluted web address, but it's tha.hsa at one of the vendors downtown.
Well, we'll put it in the show notes. So just
we'll post
go to hsvinsideout.com and we'll have it there.
Because that's where all good things are, Randy.
That's where a lot of good things are. Don't know about everything, but an awful lot. No, that was helpful.
Well, I'm glad. I hope this really did clarify, because there's a lot of confusion. And as always, I will say this about every organization. And Randy, somebody who works with city government, you know this. You are welcome to attend the meetings. Please attend the meetings. Please engage. That's the POA. That's the THA. That's the county quorum. That's the Saline County quorum. That's the Garland County. Nobody's going to oppose if you come in the door and go, hey, I just want to know what's going on. Because of 928 members, Randy, 928 members, we're lucky if we have 5 people in attendance.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I would have expected that you would have had even greater participation. That's what I know.
This is just going to be me, but I think we could do a better job in communicating that. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, is because people pay these townhome owner dues and they don't even know where it goes. Well, they pick up our trash. We have to hold these funds in reserve, as a guardian.
Right.
So it's a lot more complicated than it might seem.
Well, maybe they're just completely thrilled and they don't need to show up.
That's it, because everybody in the village nobody complains on Facebook. Nobody complains on social media. We don't even need this thing called Nextdoor. Y'all don't even have it in Dallas, do you? No Nextdoor.
Well, let's don't even go down that road. If you are interested, I did preach a sermon. It's not audio or video, but I did type out a sermon the other day. I got on a stump. We're just listening. Hot Springs Village is the star of this show. It's not the star of every show, but that's okay. This is our show. We can do what we want.
Exactly. And if you don't believe that, tune in the next couple of weeks, because by golly, we're going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We'll say goodbye.
Well, I'll tell you what, for Hot Springs Village, Inside Out, it's Dennis Simpson and
Randy Cantrell.
And it's been a pleasure. Thanks again, folks.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.